Look what you created. Everything surrounding me, you made it. Everything's so beautiful the way it flows together. I think I hear birds singing your praises. Amen. I swear you make me feel like I'm your favorite. Oh.
Welcome back to another episode of The Rose Garden. I know, I haven't been here. Life has been kind of like being. I went back and looked at the channel, and it's been 3 months since we talked. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do better, guys. I really am. Life has kind of been all over the place. I have had surgery since then, recovering from that still. And I don't know about y'all, but in the summertime, life feels to just go like that. But we're back. We're gonna be back on it. And I miss chatting with y'all. So let me know in the comments what's been going on. Where have y'all been? What you've been up to? And I can't wait to hear from you. Okay, let's hop in. All right. So this week on the Glow Down, we're gonna be talking about wax. Now, I am not a wax. I know how to wax, but I am not a wax. And I know people are looking at me like, what, you're a esthetician? Yeah, but I was not one of those girls who went to school just to become a waxer. That is some people's niche. They love waxing. And to be honest, you can make six figures just being a waxer. We all know how important our waxes are. But I have a confession. As much as I've fallen off with recording and kind of keeping life together, I've been not doing my maintenance and I'm starting to really see the results of it. So, just like I'm back on it with y'all, I'm back on this maintenance. So, I want to talk today about at home wax. I know it's popular, and the reality is it's going to get more popular. This economy we're living in, I know people got to cut back on expenses because we don't know what's happening in the world. So, I want to talk about the way to properly wax your skin so you don't hurt yourself. Number one, I want you to exfoliate 24 hours in advance. The night before you plan to wax or the day before you plan to wax, I want you to do your everything girl shower, do your whole routine, exfoliate really well. You can use a sugar exfoliant, whatever you're used to using, but I want you to get all the dead skin. But the reason we do it the day before is because we don't want to irritate the skin too much. So I want you to take that time and to prep your skin. Once you're ready to wax, you need to do your research prior to what type of wax you're going to use. We have hard wax, soft wax. I personally prefer to use hard wax when I am waxing larger areas with more coarse hair. I just have thicker hair, have more coarse hair, so I prefer to use hard wax. Some people prefer to use soft wax you would use with your strip, and then hard wax you lay and remove. So once you do research on what wax is best for your hair type and skin, you're going to identify which way your hair is growing on your skin. So if you're doing a larger area like your leg, they might be growing multiple ways, or like your armpits, definitely probably growing multiple ways. But you want to identify the main way that the wax is going because that is how we're going to lay our. So after that, you identify that you want to prep your skin. So you want to have nice, fresh, clean skin. I think this is why I didn't become a waxer because, especially when you're waxing, obviously you're doing a lot of bikinis and Brazilian waxes, and it's nothing against anybody's waxing. It's against people's hygiene, and everybody's hygiene is different. I had my teacher in aesthetics. She was a waxer. And again, made her whole like living off of waxing six figures. So again, great career. But she would tell us all of these stories of how people would come in straight from the gym or all of those different things. Like if you're going to do this, especially if you're gonna do this at home, um, please make sure your skin is clear. After you have nice, fresh, clean skin, you're also going to prep the skin and usually use a pre-wax. If you're buying a wax kit, there's usually some type of prep that you're using. You can use an astringent to remove all the dirt and oil off of your skin. Again, you should be coming out of the shower clean, but then also if you want to remove any of that extra dirt or any oil, really the oil that's on your skin that you want to remove. You're going to do it first. Then we're going to lay our strips. So if you're a first time waxer, I would start with something small. Maybe if you have hair on your arm, please don't start with your whole leg or your armpit or your upper lip. Those are all sensitive areas and they're actually hard. Once you get the flow of it, you'll. So this is some hard wax that I have back here. Like I said, I am not a wax, but I do have a wax pot in my foot. This is actually kind of a little droopy, but we'll make it work. So your wax should look a little bit thicker like this. You see me twirling it so that it doesn't fold, but it should really be like the consistency of honey if you're using a hard wax. And all you're gonna do is identify the direction that your hair is going in. So my hair is growing this way, and I'm just gonna simply lay with some pressure, and we're gonna let that dry. I just turned temperature down on that so that it thickens up a little bit. But once that thickens up, you want to leave a tab, which I didn't do. So it's going to be a little bit harder for me to pull this. But when the wax is thicker, you're going to leave a little tab just like this. And it's still a little sticky, so you need to usually give it a few minutes to dry. Not too long, but a few minutes. Once you get good and you get going for speed, you usually can lay one strip while the other strip is drying. You can lay that and then go back and pull the next strip. And then the next strip should be drying, and then you're going to lay the other strip. So that's kind of how you speed wax. That's really what professionals do. So, again, if you're doing this at home, just take your time, don't hurt yourself. Okay. You also need to be ready for just a tiny bit of pain. So I've created a tab for myself. If you can see, I'm just going to pull this. I laid the wax this way, and we're going to pull the opposite way. So you pull the hair out. And we're just going to pull, and there you go. Voila. You have it. And so once you're done with that, and this is thicker, you'll be able to pull it all at one time. You shouldn't have these straggling pieces. So once you are done with your area, you're going to want to clean that up, and then you're going to want to use some cooling agent on it. You can use aloe vera gel. Some people have ice just to help cool that. So that's your procedure. About 24 hours afterwards, you can use a body mask over that area. So that is going to help exfoliate from ingrown hairs. But again, we don't want to overstimulate or over irritate the skin. If you know you have sensitive skin, I would wait 2 to 3 days in order to exfoliate or use a body mask, but that's going to help with the texture. I love to consistently use a body cream with retinol. The reason that we're going to use the body cream with retinol in it, when it's going to help with the overall appearance of the skin, it's going to help it look and feel smoother, but also it's going to help with the ingrown hairs if you're prone, definitely if you're prone to ingrown hairs. I will caution because, waxing is a way to, if you don't take proper care of the wax doing the proper procedure, it is an ultimate way that you could get ingrown. So you want to make sure that you prep the skin properly, but you do your aftercare properly. And then we all know you're not going to follow the rules, but you really should not be having any intimacy after. Why? Because your pores are wide open. They are wide open to anybody's germs or whatever that person has on their skin, their sweat, all of those different things. And so you should really wait 24 hours before doing anything intimate, but also really intense workouts. You should not be in the sauna or anything after a wax. So just prep your day accordingly, do all of those things beforehand, and then wait at least 24 hours to resume those things. If you're on a budget and you want to save some coins, get yourself an at-home waxing kit, but just make sure that you do it the proper way. Make sure you have some glowing legs. Okay, let's hop into Pretty Mindful. So, this is our segment where we talk about mindfulness, mental health, and all things in that soft girl realm. So, today I want to talk about attachment styles. I know that we hear attachment styles often and we really think about dating, but I always tell people attachment styles is really about how we attach with ourselves and how we show up in the world. And so I, just like everyone else, took my time watching every single episode of Love Island. And so I know we've all watched the think pieces. We've talked about Huda. We've talked about how she showed up, but it really think about what attachment styles really look like at play. And so if you all don't know, there are 4 attachment styles out there in the world. The basis of attachment style came from an experiment done in the 70s. Please don't use this or cite this as any type of clinical research. The overview was that they watched babies and how they responded when their mothers came and left. We all know that babies cry when they leave their mother, which is a sign of a secure and healthy attachment because the baby was able to cry, recognize that their secure attachment was there. In a secure attachment, the baby was also able to eventually self soothe because they had enough history and examples of the mother returning back. And so while they were crying because she was leaving the room, they were able to continue to play. And when the mother came back in the room, they embraced the mother, and then the mother and the baby continued to play together. So they continued to do this experiment over and over again and watch how these babies interacted. So there was 4 attachment styles that came out of there. So you have a secure attachment, an anxious, preoccupied attachment, an avoidant attachment, and then anxious avoidant attachment or a mixed attachment. We talked about the secure baby. So that's all what we all feel like we have. We have that perfect secure attachment. And that really does translate into how we interact with other people. But an anxious attachment showed up when the mother would leave the room. The anxiety was increased and it was evident by its inability to self-soothe. So the baby would not have the ability to self-soothe versus our secure baby did have the ability to self-soothe and bring themselves down. And so that indicated to the researchers that there were levels of anxiety in that baby that related to their ability to get their needs met and their security of their mother and understanding that the mother was going to come back. That might have been through the baby's already lived experiences of the mother maybe not being as attentive to their needs. And then we had an avoidant attachment. That was the baby that kind of left when the mother left the room, didn't really have a big reaction. When the mother came back in the room, didn't really have a big reaction. And so there was not really a large security in the mother as far as providing needs. Now, the mother might have provided physical needs, but there might have been some emotional distance. There's all different ways that an avoidant attachment can come. Last, we had a mixed attachment or an anxious avoidant attachment. So the baby had high anxiety, meaning that when the mother left the room, cried and was not able to self-soothe. But when the mother came back in the room, the baby was kind of distant, standoffish, and didn't embrace the mother. And so the baby had both attachment styles where they were obviously anxious, wanted their needs met, needed things, but early on had a response and learned a response of being avoidant with the mother. And so I use mothers because mothers are usually the primary caregiver, and that's how the experiment was done. However, any early childhood interactions, primary source caregivers can be used in order to really look at an attachment style. When I go back to the anxious attachment, we have to understand that there was a time in the world where let the baby cry was a theory, right? And so that was how mothers were taught to parent. They were taught to actually, let the baby continue to cry out. That's sometimes some people still theory, but that was the mass majority of how people were raising their children. So we do actually have increase in anxiety and avoidance and amongst the generation. What I will say is this generation that is being raised right now, Gen X and Gen Alpha, they have the most emotional intelligence than any other generation before. And it will be very interesting to see how they continue to grow. Millennials are in between, right? We have insight. We learned some of the mental health components. We were taught and exposed a little bit to some of those things. Baby boomers weren't given all of the emotional support, but you think about the early baby boomers, where they were born, what was happening in the world. It's also the turn of when women started first working out of the home. End of that generation into the next, definitely were the first generation of Latchkey kids too. So there's a whole bunch of things that go into this that come into our attachment styles. Let me give the disclaimer because I don't want you to get on the phone and tell your mother that she was a bad mother. Absolutely not. The older you get, the more you realize that your parents are just your parents. They were now our age, just trying to raise a child and trying to understand things. That's not where I'm coming from with this information at all. What I'm coming from is that you need to be aware of how you attach in the world. If you have some level of anxiety about the way you interact your relationships, being with or without somebody, you need to be aware of that and how it's showing up. It's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think one thing that we really stress in attachment theory is that learning your attachment style is one thing, but it's not a push or an urge to become a secure attachment. Everybody's like, oh, I just want to have a secure attachment. Yes, but what research tells us is being with somebody who is a secure attachment leads you to be more of a secure person and have a more secure attachment. And that actually shows and expands out to many of your relationships rather than focusing on how you change everything in your world and change how you do. Yes, you need to be insightful. Yes, you need to be aware of how you show up. And yes, if it's toxic behavior, you need to manage your emotion. At the same time, focus on the community you have and focus on the people that you have around you. If the people around you make you feel secure, then your level of security, your level of attachment, your level of safety will increase. Now, again, gotta be self-aware. I think really speaking it into existence that I just need to be a therapist on some reality love TV show. So, Love is Blind, Married at First Sight. What is that? Love in the Pause. What is that? What is that? No, that's not Love is Blind. Yeah, that's Love is Blind. Love is Blind. Yes, it's Love is Blind. Um, Ready from Love. All those shows. I watch all of them. I'm well equipped with how the show works. I don't want to be like the experts. I just want to be in the background coaching the person because I think there's just a lack of awareness and understanding. Our brain, all the time, your brain is homeostasis. So it just brings you back to things that are familiar. As much as you are working to break that cycle, you still keep ending up around the same type of people. If your brain is attracted to it, you have to be aware of it, especially if it's on a toxic level. And then you're going to have to um, be aware of, okay, something new is going to feel uncomfortable, but I have to know what security feels like and what increasing my safety feels like versus perpetuating a cycle of behavior that I have. So a lot. A lot. We could go down this rabbit hole, but I want to know what you guys think. Are you aware of your attachment style? Do you want to learn more about your attachment style? Do you feel like it really does impact how you interact with not just romantic relationships, but people in the world? I want to know. All right. Okay. Let me know. Bye. That's why. Why did I just say bye? We did not do girl list. And to be honest, this week for girl list chat, I'm just a girl and I am a girl that really needs to do her facial. I don't feel like I did it in July at all, which is actually crazy. I don't know where the month. All right, so I'm gonna get my headband out on. We're going to hop into a facial while we talk about some topics. We don't have comfort shows, right? I have comfort shows by season. So this my summertime comfort shows are Insecure, Miss Issa Rae. Like, I watched Insecure when it was a diary of an awkward black girl on YouTube. I used to crack up. I sometimes even go back and watch that. So I love it. And my other one is The City. And now that I think about it, I don't know why I ever started watching Sex and the City. I was a child, like very much a child, but I love it. I'm gonna start my facial, and so I'm gonna be multitasking. But I'm gonna start with oil as always. This is an almond-based oil that I sell, cleansing oil that I sell. The reason we use oil as our first cleanse is because oil attracts dirt, and so we're just gonna get that layer of dirt off the skin. So I'm first just going to use the oil on my hands and rub it into my skin, and you just want skin to skin on this first overview. And then we'll get some water in our hands and then we'll emulsify. I've also been watching a lot of podcasts. So I just watched Angie Martinez's podcast. I think it's called In Real Life. And Eve was on it. One, it was just so nice to see Eve and see her still be her and her evolution, because there was a lot of things that was just her personality still. She still had this almost baby voice. She was her energy in a lot of ways, like that really hype, sweet energy. I'm saying this because I really love him. It's just, she, probably because she's a Philly girl, but I love Eve. So her energy was the same. And apparently she's on tour. I don't know who she's on tour with, but she's on tour. She was talking about how the perception of everybody, myself included, is that she is like the ultimate soft girl. She married her billionaire husband and she's living overseas, living the ultimate soft life. She was like, first of all, I had to debunk this. She was like, yes, I am living a soft life, not because of this man. She was like, he's not a billionaire. And she kind of made a face, and I made a face too while I was listening to it. Like, girl, she was like, he got a lot of money, but I got a lot of money too. But she was like, yes, I am living the ultimate self girl life. She was like, that's because I started with myself. And she was like, so I was able to attract this lifestyle for myself because I did the work internally. Yes, that's where it always starts. It starts with your internal work more than anything else. So if that's the life you desire, you need to foster something within you to create this life and have insight, create systems and a lifestyle that supports that for you. Okay, we're using our Honey Breaks cleanser based from Skin Script. I do believe they sell that for retail. I love the way this smells. So good. So it's a honey break cleanser. And of course, we're always trying to brighten up. So yeah, she was talking about how this is the life she created for herself. And she's like, regardless of the man I had, something about this off life would have been created for myself, which I love. This is what got me. She started talking about how she was dating prior to meeting her husband. And she was like, once I stopped realizing I could not date like a man, she was like, that's when something clicked for me. And I was like, that's really interesting. So to bring it full circle, if you guys have never seen Sex in the City, like the whole first season is about Carrie, talking about, I mean, the whole kind of show, but really that first season really emphasized of like, can you date like, as a man and being a single woman in her 30s and right, and all those different things. Full circle, I was watching this podcast with Nicole on it from Poor Minds. If y'all never seen Poor Minds, I love them down. They are hilarious. They crack me up. I love her, Luxby, all of that. It's just hilarious to me. They are an acquired taste, so if you're going to check them out, they definitely are acquired taste. She was talking about how she believes that women need to start categorizing men just like men categorize women in the dating scene. And sometimes you need to realize that that man is not your husband. She's talking specifically about younger girls. But if you're like, that man's not your husband, sometimes that's that person who just you're just gonna hang out with them. That's it. And that does not necessarily mean that you're sleeping with them either. Sorry, I told y'all ADHD. That just means that that's the person that you're hanging out with. You get exposure to having fun with them. I just think it's so interesting how women always get socialized to look at things from a marriage perspective, right? And so, do I think that you can necessarily date like a man? I just think personally, no. My opinion. Yours may be different, and I'm open to hearing that. But my thought process is just no. But can you learn to have fun and interact with people without making that your whole world, or like this is your next person, this is your next relationship, this is it? I wish that we would socialize our girls more to be able to have like experiences. We're working towards that much. Oh, my face feels so much better already. We're working towards it so much more now than we ever have to really help people identify what's having fun and what a realistic expectation is of interacting with a gentleman or a young man, as one of my clients always call them. Just think if we could emphasize on how to have relationships that don't always center around this is my all in all until you're in that season in your life. Now, it might happen. You might meet this person, you might have fun, you might fall madly in love, and that's wonderful if that happens. But it's also okay if it doesn't happen the way you expect it. And when you realize that it's not serving you anymore, or you realize, okay, this is not how I want to have fun, then I don't know. I want to hear your thoughts on all the conversations on Eve creating her her soft life and attracting her husband. She actually is a really good podcast because she also talked about how it was so hard for her to drop her armor after being that hard girl for so long. I think she was, and she said it. She was like, I think it's a Philly girl thing, but she was like, in her first couple of years of her marriage, it was really hard for her to drop the armor, right? And drop and recognize that she had a partner. So I think like that piece of the conversation, but the creating a play outside of the person that she's partnered with in order to create the soft, in order to partner with somebody who's going to continue to create that soft life. And then, what do you think about Drea's point about women need to categorize men and see things at face value and not take things too serious? I want to hear all y'all's feedback. I think it's a really interesting conversation. And the fact that all the way back to the 90s when Sex in the City was out, and was it the 90s? Yeah, it was definitely in the 90s. The 90s when Sex in the City was out. That was a conversation we were having then. And 30 years later, this is still a conversation we were having. So I just want to hear y'all's insight. Let me know. I'm going to finish this facial. If you want to see the end result, then we can go over to my TikTok and see it over there. But I am so happy that we spent this time together. And I promise I'm not going to abandon y'all. I will be back. I'm going to be consistent and be on it because, first of all, the end of the year is always my favorite time of the year. I don't know. There's just so much going on. And so I'm going to have to chat with y'all. Okay. All right. So I can't wait to hear y'all comments and make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time. All right. Bye.
What you created, everything surrounding me, you made it. Everything's so beautiful the way it flows together. I think I hear birds singing your praises. Amen. That's the way you make me feel like I'm your favorite. Oh.